Little Squire Bullet Strat in for new strings and a bit of a clean. I always like to release the tension on the trem before I properly take the strings off, although this one is screwed down pretty firmly. Let's just take this last spring off and see what that does to the trem. It just it stops the trem pulling too hard against the finish. There's already a mark here where it's pulled back, but as I take the strings off, otherwise it just pulls that trem back too hard. So I've loosened these off quite nicely, so I'm just going to cut them now because they've just got to come off. They're rusty and dull. There you go, all done. So these little Squire Strats are pretty solidly made, actually. I mean, straight out the shop, they're pretty good. Maybe a little setup just to get the string height right. Sometimes it's a bit high, that's all. But they work really well. Reasonably trusted brand, Squire. In fact, I've got a bass guitar that's a Squire, and it works entirely fine for me tinkering around with a bass every once in a while. They just push through nicely. Those ones have come out. Sometimes they get stuck. And let's take these ones out. That's those out. And you can release it quite nicely by pushing the string down. And it just releases the ball end so you can pull it out. All done. Chuck these away. Then go in the bin just under here. Done. Right, next thing to do with this is clean it, because it needs it, to say the least. So the fretboard's a bit grimy, and I like to use two different cloths because fretboards, you know, that's where your fingers go. It tends to get a bit yucky. Second pair of glasses. So we'll give the body and the headstock a wipe over with one microfiber cloth. Get the worst of the grime off. Those string trees are nice and firm, that's good. And then when we get to the fretboard, which is grime central, I mean, even the nut had a layer of dirt on it, but not anymore. And this is just a bit of elbow grease. Yeah, they normally clean up quite nicely, even when they're, I mean, this is by, well, far from the worst I've seen. But even when they're really grimy, that's a bit grimy, even when they're really grimy, just a bit of elbow grease and a bit of guitar, you know, any guitar cleaner really. People often get a bit nervous around which guitar cleaner to use. I've never found any of them that do anything other than a perfectly good job. I've been using Axe Wax's Axe Blast for a while now because I can get it from the distributor that I use. It's the only reason I use this. And it works quite well. And obviously I go through quite a bit. So I can buy it in these enormous, great big bottles to refill. I'm almost out. But that's all right because I need to put some order in for some strings today. So I'll order another bottle of Axe Blast. Blast your axe. Or maybe not. But look, this is cleaning up perfectly well. It's going to look great. The frets are even coming up nice and shiny as well. They don't need a polish. They're going to be fine just as they are. No surprise, it's not quite as dirty up the dirty end as it is up the low end where all the chords are played. You can see where the guitar's been played really. It was kind of a bit filthy up to about the fifth. So there's not been a lot of lead work played on it. It's mostly been cord work, I suspect. Otherwise, that fretboard's in quite good condition. That will do nicely. Right, so we'll put that to one side for a minute until we oil it up. Give the body a bit of a clean. Now, the main issue with this is there doesn't seem to be any output from the middle and neck pickup. So I'm going to take this pick guard off. This jack's loose as well. I'm going to take this pick guard off in a minute and find out exactly what's going on under there. I just want to get rid of as much of the dirt as I can before I move on to that. I don't really want to take all these saddles off just yet, so we'll just pop a cloth just underneath. Slide it under each of the saddles, and then I can shimmy it across the back, and that will give it a good chance to get a bit of a clean. That'll be fine for now. Pop it back out again. That one's flipped over. Get in between the screws that are fixing the tremolo down. It does actually move, so that's good. I haven't got to worry about releasing any of those. Although we might set it up a bit firm, because we don't need the trem moving too much for Jack. Okay, right, so we'll just give the back a quick wipe over. I've already assessed this, so I know the condition it's in, which is reasonably good. The tuners are all secure, they're all working fine. Now, next bit sticky. No surprise, I don't think it's been cleaned very often. But we'll put a bit of wax on that, and that will make it nice and smooth. Cleaning the belly curve, I definitely need one of those. I had a busy couple of weeks. My 19-year-old's been back from university, so we went out for dinner, and then I went out with the guys from the band, and we had a dinner and a few pints, and then I went out for the guys from the village, and I had a few pints, and yeah, it's been a busy week. Soup and breadcrumbs this week, I reckon. Right, okay, let's have a look what's going on with these picks now. These pickups, sorry. Okay. So the amp's on. You can test pickups just tapping them. Nothing, nothing, nothing. That one's working. So it is just the middle one, which is either a problem with the pickup or a problem with the wiring. So what we're going to do is turn that back off again for now, and we'll get this pick guard off and have a look, see what's going on. So if it's a faulty pickup, it's not expensive. I mean, they're not expensive pickups, full stop. So we could either just leave it, although it's making a bit of a hum, which is annoying. But you've got two perfectly good pickups in use, and Jack may be happy with that. Or just to replace a pickup. Iron Gear, local, they're distributors local to Colchester, and their pickups are great value. So, £20 to £30 for a nice pickup, and it will be a nicer pickup than the one that's in here. It will sound great, but it's going to add a fair bit to the overall bill once I've fitted it. And as I say, Jack may be happy just with two pickups working, but we'll see. Cross that bridge when we get there. The first thing to do is find out what's going on, because if a lead's come off, that's going to cost him nothing, because I'll just solder it back on, and it's all part of the premium service and setup. So It's now loose. It's come away from, sometimes they sit under the neck pocket, which can be a bit of a pest. And just to protect the body, I've got my nice piece of leather that my better half, who likes her textiles, gave me. So, finding which way to turn these without unsoldering lots of wires is sometimes a bit of a trick, and that seems to be how this one wants to go. Right, so this is the pickup that's not working. So we've got a red and a black here. So all of our grounds for our pickups look like they're soldered to the switch, which is perfectly fine. That's the ground for the middle pickup. And that seems to be soldered there fine. And here's the signal wire. And that's soldered fine too. So let's see if a bit of wiggling gives us a signal back. Or if the brake actually is at this end. Okay. So something's touching something that it shouldn't on the signal wire. That's good to know. There's a kind of, hopefully not one of my beard hairs in here. Now, is it the switch or is it the cable? I think it's the cable. I'm pretty sure the cable's broken. Okay, that's pretty easy. So we're going to fire up the old furnace. Wire stripper, wire cutter, yeah, I reckon the strands are just breaking away. I think we'll take that off, restrip it, resolder it, and that'll fix it. While that soldering iron's heating up, quick slurp of tea. Okay. So we're just going to disconnect it first. I'm going to leave the solder on here because it's not going anywhere. There you go, and we're off. I'm going to trim the end. Get rid of the brake, if that's what it is. And then got a nice new terminal. Just going to tin the tip. Now it's quite likely we'll burn back some of the insulation, which will give us a longer end anyway. And then if I can melt this solder on here, I'd quite like to get it actually in the terminal. There you go, lovely. Nice, very neat, good. Okay, swap my plugs over. Let's see if that's, there we go, lovely. I reckon that has done it. Beautiful. Okay. So whilst this pick guard's off, don't need my eyes on anymore. I'll put these away as well. I like to keep a bit of a clean desk, otherwise I kind of lose my way. Too much stuff everywhere gets a bit confusing. So we'll give the underside of the pickup, the pick guard, a bit of a clean. That's it. So that when the pick guard goes back on, it's got a nice, clean, well finished piece of wood to sit on, which I think makes it happy. There we go. Okay, flip this monkey back over. Take our bit of leather out of the way. All right, the trick now is to not get any of these cables caught under the pick guard, and make sure they all slide into the cavities between the pickups well, and obviously slide it under the neck. Okay, so that seems to be fitting nicely. We'll get some screws back in. I'm only going diagonal because it just holds it in the right place. Otherwise you start putting these in and these are all out of line. So if I go crisscross, they all sit in the right place as I tighten them up. And then there's the fun of when you get to the end and you've got a screw left, and no matter how much I stare at the pick guard, I can't quite see where the hole is. It's normally this one. It likes to hide. That's it. No, remember the controls being scratchy, so that's good. I don't have to take it off again. They don't need to clean. Two more, one by the bridge. And one by the switch. Got him. Right. All working great. Fantastic. Okay. Right, so now we're going to tighten the jack, because it's pretty wiggly. And the easiest way to do that is to take the whole plate off, because otherwise what happens is the jack spins inside the plate and pulls on the wires, and before you know it, you've snapped a wire and you don't have a soldering iron, and you come to me, which is lovely. I love to meet you. Can you see how much that's turning? So that spins round and round and round. The cable comes off because it just gets tight and then it stops working. Which is not a big deal, but it's much easier to do it if you just undo those two screws. A bit of a clean under here. That's it. And that's typically a 12 or a 13 mil socket. 14, 13, I think that's going to be too big. Yeah. 9, 16, where's my 12 gone? 10. It must be in a different pot. Aha. He's on. That's 11. I'll just try 11 just in case. 11 it is. Okay, well, good. So I'm going to hold the jack and tighten the nut till it bites, and then when it's nice and tight so that it doesn't come loose again. And again, sometimes you tighten these up, and then when you put them back, what you find is as it's run the wrong way. As you put the jack in, the contact starts to catch and press against the cavity. So this arm, this is the contact for the tip of your jack. So this bit, as it tries to press out, it presses against the side of the guitar body, and then the jack won't go in. And that's fine because, and this one seems fine, there's plenty of space in there actually. You just have to undo it again and just move the jack around a little bit until it, the plug goes in nice into the socket nice and smoothly. Leave that one a bit loose until we've got this one in. That's it. It's not quite biting, but it's tight enough. I don't need to do anything. It's not got a... I wouldn't say it's the densest of woods. Right, okay, so I'm just going to oil up the fretboard a little bit. It's actually not looking too bad, so I'm not going to use very much. Just enough, just to condition it. Make it smell nice. And done. Again, Dunlop fretboard oil. People get very bent out of shape about what they use, and that works fine. I'm very happy with it. Thank you very much. If you want to use something else, then please do. But it works fine. And just smear it over. You want to take as much of the excess off as you can, so just turn the cloth over, give it a wipe. Okay. And while that dries, we'll just give it a bit more of a thorough clean around the body. There's some paint marks on the side here that I think probably with a little bit of polish beautiful. It's a bit deeper. It's coming. I think that's actually a bit of a dent. Oh, the polish smells good. Right, well, that's got rid of most of it. There's just a scratch still. And I'm going to use what's left of the polish on the cloth just to give it a bit of a wipe all over, just to smear a small amount of polish on. It doesn't need much because it's looking okay. It's not too heavily scratched. Oh, microphone just got caught. I think I'm going to just put a little bit of wax on, if I can find it. That looks like a bit of wax. Okay. Microphone fell off, so into the lapel position. Okay, just a little bit of wax, just to kind of give it a nice shine. And I did say I was going to put a bit on the neck, the back of the neck, because that will make it nice and smooth and silky, pleasurable to play. Okay. Bit of wax on the underside, bit of wax on the top. Just a touch on the front. Always clean behind your ears. Okay, excellent. Right. Nice big buffing cloth just to remove the excess and give it a bit of an extra sheen. Beautiful, looking like new again. Right. Extra slinky. Super slinky. Okay, Ernie ball, super slinky. So I like to string obviously through the back because that's where the string needs to go. Up through the front, pull it through, make sure it's gone all the way. And the way I string, which just seems to work, is take it to on a 6-in-line guitar. Take it to the second tuner beyond where you want to go, particularly on the thicker strings. Cut the excess off, get rid of it, poke it through the hole, grab a string winder, and wind. Now obviously there aren't any springs on the trem, so as I tighten it will pull the trem up, but that's all right for a minute. Because what I don't want is the trem pulling back onto the body unnecessarily. So we'll put the strings on first, nice and loose, and then when they're on I can start to put the springs back into the back of the tremolo onto the claw. Next string. That's where I'm going. That's what I go to. Cut. Push it through about as far as the washer or the ferrule and wind under. No need for any knots, no tangling, no looping over. Just press down so that each winding goes underneath the last until it starts to pull tight. exchanging nut slots at the moment because they're a bit loose. Next one. Through the back, up through the front, put it nice and tight, make sure it goes all the way through. That one almost didn't. That's where I'm going. Two beyond, cut the end off. So easy. Tighten, tighten, tighten. That one's going underneath the tree. Still looking good. Third string. First unwound. Up through the saddle. That's where I'm going. I got a little bit longer on this one because the string's a bit thinner, so I can afford to have a couple more windings on. I don't want too many. That one's still got the old string in it, which is annoying. Okay. This is the one that broke, I think. It came in and it was already broke. I'm going to try and scoop it out without causing any damage to anything. Just the biggest loop there. I can scoop underneath and get my tweezers underneath the coil. There you go. It's out. Right. That's it. Get a few turns on. This tuner's a bit stiff in places. Okay. Maybe it's got a bit of a loose gear somewhere, but it's alright. It's doing its job. Underneath the string tree and into the nut slot. Beautiful. Take a little bit off of that. Okay, and then this one's broken as well. So there we go, it's off. String injury. Like little needles. There, don't really want to bleed on the guitar, so although it is red, so never mind. Next string. Second string. Okay, that's gone through the saddle, lovely. Put it through all the way, ball end through the bottom of the trem block. Right, so once I've got up here, I'm running out of tuners to measure it to. I can either estimate it or I just pull, come to here and then pull back and do two. I'm just going to estimate it. Not too much sticking out. Although nines do slip quite a lot, particularly when you get to that 9. It's so thin, so sometimes it's handy just to put a bit more through than you otherwise might. Oh, look, bleeding. And have blood on the guitar. Right up to the top, couple back, leave a bit longer, cut the end off. Okay, strings are on. We'll put one spring on for now. Good, that's perfect, look, not pushing against the body at all. Right, okay, so the trick's now going to be bring it up to tune, fit the last two springs, get the trem set reasonably well pulled back, but not all the way, and then we'll do the setup in a bit. Brilliant.